What is up, guys? Welcome to the ThinkComputers Weekly Tech Podcast. This is episode 336, and our podcast is brought to you by Amazon. If you go to thinkcomputers.org/Amazon and happen to purchase something that gives you a little kickback, or gives us a little kickback, and of course keeps the podcast ongoing. With me is my co-host Ryan. What's going on?
Got a new haircut, took a nice shower before the show. I'm ready to go.
Your hair always looks the same. There's only been like one point where I've been like
before this.
Yeah, there's always. I remember you cut it really short one time too. Maybe it was like by accident. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think before I started working for you, there was one like winter where I let it go real long. Like my bangs would go down to my nose. Like it was like that long, and I would.
You were like super emo.
No. Anyhow, I'm good. I'm here.
We're not late night podcasting.
No,
our normal time frame.
Terrible.
Was it?
That was rough for me. Yeah, for sure. Oh, Michael Sitko in chat says first.
Yeah, first the comments. We've had some weird comments. I don't know if there were like spam comments on not the previous podcast, not last week, but the week before. For some reason, that podcast got like a ton of views, more than normal, and then all the comments were like thanks, but like. And I looked and it was like, yeah, like the people weren't like commenting like a link or something shady. You know what I mean? So
right, yeah. Usually there's like some random link.
I don't know what the deal is with that. So we have our buddy Nelson is in the chat. He said class is now in session. I mean, I don't know if we're going to teach you anything this week. Oh, we have some stuff we can teach you, I guess, that we can talk about for sure. But yeah, you can hear Fast and Furious maybe going.
All right, here right now they're going.
Yeah, outside
pink slips.
Yeah, there's who knows. There's a place if you go in San Diego. I'm not going to mention where it's at, but it is like Fast and Furious. Like all the people have all their cars, all their like Honda Civics all done up with like neons under it. Like you go there on the Friday night and it's like,
I believe it.
Crazy. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, Michael in the chat, before we get into stuff, Michael in the chat says, do you think any of the AM5 motherboards will go on sale more during Black Friday, or should I just snag one now? Oh, we have a story that we're going to talk about the demand for AM5 stuff being pretty low. So you could see it, but it is very early in the product cycle. So maybe not. And a lot of that stuff is really up to the manufacturer, not necessarily AMD. So we'll see.
I think we could see some, especially if demand stays where it's at. Like you said, we're going to talk about that a little more. But
yeah,
I think
stays.
I guess it depends on your situation too. Like if you need it now, like you're down a system or something, maybe it makes sense to do it right, and you're ready to jump on this new generation. But if you can hold off for a little while to just see if they do, and if they don't, well, you're still getting the board for the same price you're paying now. So
yeah. So if you can hold off, maybe hold off. And possibly some of your other components would go on sale during Black Friday as well. You know, the more expensive components, obviously your graphics card, but beyond that, you're going to have to get DDR5 memory, M.2s. We see some really good M.2 deals on Black Friday as well. Pretty much all PC components, we see some pretty good deals on Black Friday. So maybe you want to wait, but like Ryan said, if you need to get it now, there's a possibility that those boards won't go on sale either. So I would say it's 50-50 really. But yeah, guys, if if you're listening to the podcast live, or if you're watching or listening later and you want to go ahead and follow along, we have our full show notes page that has everything that we're going to be talking about this week. So you can go ahead and follow along with us. You can click through the reviews with us. You can do all that kind of stuff as you're listening or watching the podcast here. And talking about reviews this week, I took a look at a new mouse and I actually have it here. It is, I'll bring my screen up big so you guys can see this. This is the new Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro. So the V2 Pro has been out for about 2 years. Now we have the newer V3 Pro, and it's been redesigned a little bit, but it still has that classic DeathAdder design and overall shape. And if you don't know, the Razer DeathAdder, it was actually one of their first ever products. The first DeathAdder actually came out in 2006, surprisingly enough, which is pretty crazy. But I have the all white version here. I'll go over some of the main specs, but you can kind of look and see it's designed as a gaming ergonomic wireless mouse. So you get there, and one thing I really love that Razer did here is that you do get your cabling, right, which is white. You have your white cabling here, but the actual dongle, their 1MS wireless dongle, it is white. Everything is white. So if you're one of those people like me that likes to match all of your components on your desk, everything is going to be white. A lot of times with these will be like black or whatever. They really don't care. But literally everything, even the little
Nice.
thing, it's all white. It's pretty crazy that they did all that. So this is the white version. It also comes in black, and the big upgrades over the V2 Pro, one is weight. So they got this thing down to 64 grams for the white version, 63 grams for the black version, about a 25% decrease in weight over the previous version, which is just crazy. And again, just like we saw with the Viper V2 Pro, you don't lose any functionality. You don't lose buttons. You don't get a crappier sensor. This has their brand new 30K sensor in it. I'll flip it over to the back here so you guys can see. But this is, it has the 30K sensor in it. It has their Gen 3 switches, which the feel on these just feels so good, which I really, really like on this mouse. No RGB lighting. The Razer logo is just black. No RGB lighting. And they've actually, typically you see a DPI button up here. They've made a combo button, which is a power and DPI on the bottom, just to cut down the weight. So it is a really, I would say, just a nice revision over the V2 Pro. Oops, I'll click through the wrong thing here. It's just a nice upgrade if you have the V2 Pro, if you're just getting into the DeathAdder and you're into the lightweight mice, which we've talked about so much on the podcast, how I fell in love with lightweight mice. And it seems like all of our favorite mice that we grew up on, like I grew up using a Razer DeathAdder, all of these mice are getting these super lightweight versions where it just feels right. It feels perfect. You get the 1MS or below 1MS wireless tech, so you have no input lag or anything like that. It's just a good overall mouse, I would say. I don't think there's anything else that I really missed. Oh, so if you're somebody that likes grips, as you can see, this doesn't have any grips on it. But there are grips that come in the packaging. So you actually get grips for the side and grips for the buttons if you want to use them. Of course, that adds a little bit of weight, but it's just nice that you have the ability to put them on. You reviewed a couple mice that had the ability to put those on as well. So
yeah, with the one I'm using now, the HyperX Pulsefire Haste, I only put on the side grips. I didn't put on the button grips. But I like that ability to decide whether or not you want them on there.
Yeah, it's just nice because again, I personally don't use them, but I know there's a lot of people that do, and being able to just be able to put them on there and include it with a package is definitely nice. I didn't mention we have a Type-C connection at the front that is for charging. You can also use this mouse wired if you want. So if the battery does die, you can just plug it in with the included cable, and you can use it wired if you want. It works with their software. If you're familiar with Razer software, it works quite well. Their software is really good. One thing I didn't mention, and I believe somebody in the chat, if I can find it in the chat. Michael in the chat said he's using the Razer Viper 8K, which gives you a 4,000 hertz pulling rate. I believe that mouse does. There is a secondary dongle that you can buy that this mouse does support it, that will give you that. It's an extra $30. If you wanted that 4,000 hertz pulling rate, you can actually, this mouse does support that as well. For me, I think this is going to be my mouse going forward. I do have the Viper V2 Pro here, which I use pretty much every day. This is more of an ambidextrous, sort of more low profile. If I actually, I don't have this one plugged. I'm like trying to use both mice, but I don't have them both plugged in. So if we look here, you can kind of see the difference. The DeathAdder is a little bit bigger. This one's more
a little taller. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if I can do this without dropping them and then closing out of my screen. But like you can see the difference.
Different shape a little bit.
Yeah, but I've been using the V2 Pro as my main mouse for a while, and I think that I'm gonna switch over to the DeathAdder. It feels good. I do like the more ergonomic feel of it as well. It is a true right-handed mouse, where the V2 Pro is, like I said, more ambidextrous. So I really like that. It is expensive, just like all these Razer products get that. We talk about it with Corsair as well. They get the Razer tax, as you say. So this is $150, $149.99. I like what they're doing, just like we saw again with the V2 Pro. You're getting a really great sensor. They're able to cut the weight down. And I didn't talk about it, but like the whole chassis of this is all solid, and they're able to cut the weight down without cutting a bunch of holes in this, which we've seen on so many lightweight mice. It is a full chassis, no holes in it or anything like that. And it's very sturdy. Like you can press on this really hard and it doesn't move at all. Yeah, no flex, nothing. So really impressive what Razer is able to do. You are going to pay for it, but I feel like this is a mouse that you're going to be using for years on end. 30K sensor is, I don't know who's using a 30,000 DPI sensor, but it's just overkill. It's a great sensor. It's very accurate. We talked about it with a V2 Pro, same thing. Only thing is, it's interesting. So we have a Viper V2 Pro that basically has the same components as the DeathAdder V3 Pro. It would just be nice if we could get them all in the same naming. So then, Razer customers know, okay, the V3 Pro line has the 30K sensor and the new Gen 3 switches, and, one's on V2, one's on V3. I get it, because you would be skipping naming, but it would be nice if they were just all on the same, same naming, because to make it, just to make it easier, I would say. Man, I'm missing this. Chat's going off over here.
So I'll catch you up. I think the most pertinent piece is kind of our first news story. Nelson was asking about how they thought we might not see a 4070. I think he was kind of actually talking about some of the 4080 12 gig cancellation. So I told you.
Yeah, we'll definitely be getting into news here in just a second. So definitely just stay tuned, and we will get into that. But like I said, just to finish off on the DeathAdder V3 Pro, I would highly recommend it. It's amazing. Like, it's an FPS mouse. You have two side buttons, two main buttons. That's it. 150 is decently expensive for an FPS mouse, but I feel like you are getting what you pay for. It feels really, really good. And I haven't, since the Viper V2 Pro, which again I reviewed and it became my main mouse, I haven't reviewed another mouse that I'm like, I'm going to switch. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to switch to this one. It just feels good. And it's all white. Like, I love the white. It just looks good.
And you've got enough keyboards that you can get it to match.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that price. Like, if you're in that ecosystem, the Razer, ecosystem, you can go to one panel to customize all your peripherals. So, there's kind of that benefit as well, if you're already in the Razer ecosystem, to pay that Razer tax.
Yeah. It's like I said, it is expensive, but it is well made. It's sometimes we see expensive products and we're like, it's just, you can get this other product for much cheaper, but it's really well made. And I like I said, I like what Razer's doing as far as cutting the weight down without cutting out features and quality. We've seen other companies cut things down, but then you lose certain functionality, and
Right.
Razer isn't doing that here. So check out the full written review. It is on the site. We will have a video coming out on it as well. So stay tuned for that. And then I did do a video this past week. If you guys didn't see it, if I can, I'm like all out of sorts on the page here. Here we go. So I did a YouTube video on the ASRock X670E Taichi. It is on the YouTube page if you guys did want to check it out. Bring it up here. That's a horrible time to.
Hey.
Yeah.
But
if you guys did want to bring it, do it out. So this is what we're going to be doing, especially coming into holiday season. We have a lot of products, and I think my plan going forward is to post the written review, first, and then the video will come out the following week. I think that gives me a good flow to get it done. So if you're interested in this board, we talked about it last week, so I'm not going to go into it. But if you want to see it up close, I have those, super close, sexy shots of this board. It is a really nice looking board. If you want to check out the video, it is on our YouTube, again, linked in the show notes here. If you guys want to check it out, I had a lot of fun making this video. It's been a while since I've done a motherboard video, and me, I love.
That's your favorite, yeah.
Yeah, my favorite component is.
Well, there's so much to talk about, right? Especially when you have a new refresh of boards and platform. So.
Yeah, a lot to talk about on that board too. So check out that video. It is on our YouTube. We'll move to Case Mod Friday, and we have a different build this week. More of something that, again, looks like it's out of a movie set or something like that.
Yeah.
This is the RJK Inferno from, I'm not going to try to say his name because I believe it's Greek. Is that Greek? I believe
I'm not going to try either.
Yeah. But it is a really cool, again, the name is Inferno, so sort of like devil type.
Yeah, I mean, they're using a power colored Red Devil GPU.
Yeah, GPU. And these kind of these custom doors that kind of bring everything together. Interesting placement with this case of the reservoir and pump combo all in here. But it does it just goes together. Like, I think it just works. That's what it looks. That looks really badass.
That looks cool. Closed up. Yeah.
With it all closed up.
I'd like to see what it looks like with some orange, right? Give it a little more Halloween.
Yeah, that would be really cool as well. Here's another. This is the shot. This is like the money shot right there, of the kind of the gates of hell opening up in the PC inside. Go through these pictures. So yeah, it's a cool build. I have a picture. You can see the detail in this too, like all the custom work on the tubing and back here and all of that. That's really, really. I could never do anything like that. That's pretty crazy.
That looks good too. Turned off like the. Looks nice.
Yeah, it goes together pretty well, I think. This is a really good shot too. I like this one. But there is one. There it is, the front. The front is actually pretty cool, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Again, looking like something like out of a movie. Yeah, so check this one out. Like I said, it's not our typical, but I wanted to feature because it's just something different. And I like the idea of, like, again, the graphics card's not water cooled. It's only the CPU. Like, it's a different placement. It's just something.
Well, it's not EK or Alpha Cool, right? Also, it's Ryzen Tech stuff.
Yeah.
So
Ryzen Tech case as well.
We don't see a lot of that. Yeah, case and components. So cool.
Yeah. So, like I said, check this one out. And as I always say, we do have our full section of Case Mod Friday builds if you guys want to check that out. And I'm not even going to click through the article because it's kind of pointless, because we don't need to see the article. But our, starting off news, big story, and we talked about it last week. NVIDIA is going to cancel the RTX 4080 12 gigabyte.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this makes complete sense. We talked about it previously, and the big issue that so many people had with the 4080 12 gigabyte was that we have a 4080 16 gigabyte. So there's a 4080 16 and a 4080 12. And I said I would be okay with it if they were strictly just different VRAM size, like capacity. Right. So if 60, again, they are, but there's a lot of other differences. One, they're both based on two separate chips, right? So not even the same chip, not even a little bit cut down, like two separate chips, and then also, you have different amount of CUDA cores, different amount of performance. Like it's not just the 4080 12 or 4080 16 gigabyte and 4080 12 gigabyte. They're completely different cards. And I said this is stupid when it came out. When I showed you this story initially, what did you say? You said that when I messaged you, you're like, wasn't there somebody at NVIDIA that knew that this was a dumb idea?
I don't think that was me.
That was you.
I'm sure those are my thoughts.
Yeah, like, I can bring it up. You said something like that. You said something like,
maybe, who knows? I mean, it's just crazy. It's so disingenuous to do that without some more of a clarification on NVIDIA's part. So I'm glad they walked it back. I think there's enough outcry from so many outlets and their customer base that it makes sense to walk this back, because you just would have had people at the Micro Center, wherever, walking up and they're like, hey, here's the 12 gig or the 16 gig. I don't think I'm going to need 16 gigs, right? 12's great for me. It's a little cheaper. Take it home. And they're not getting anywhere near the performance that they would expect to get out of that card. So having it the same model just didn't make sense. Now, whether they turn that into I'm sure they already have their specs for the 4070. So I don't think that's just going to become the 4070. I don't think that'll happen. But maybe they do something where it's the 4070 Super, or you know what I mean. They'll do something with those. But I'm glad they walked it back.
Yeah, this is what Ryan said. He said, he said, effing dummies. Do they not have somebody working optics that could have prevented this? That's what Ryan said.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's very disingenuous, and it's for the consumer. And I talked about this previously, for the longest time, we had a, 3060, 3070, 30, we had two 3080s, but, for the longest time, it was just, you went in that order. And if you were like a 1080p gamer, you got this card. If you were 14, like it just all made sense. And for the consumer, It was a much easier purchase because you knew where your card fit. But you have two cards that have the same name. One has less VRAM. A lot of people might not even know that it's a different chip completely. A lot of people like, oh, it's just a little bit like there's so much confusion, and it's just disingenuous, I think, to the consumer to call it a 4080 when it's a completely different chip. You can't call it
a 4080 Lite and slap a sticker on the boxes and cards, and I'm okay with it. But you can't just widely designate it as just the memory capacities that are different. So like I said, this is good. I think NVIDIA, again, it's one of those things, and we've seen it with different other products and companies where they put something out and then there's such a big backlash. Like there was such big backlash on social media, online, that they kind of had to walk it back, and they walked it back. So we don't know, like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with the 4080 12 gig cards, because they're already made. Like they're already there. So we'll just have to see whether it's a Lite or it's a 4075. Right, like somewhere in between there. Who knows?
Yeah, we're not sure. But NVIDIA is going to reimburse its board partners. So again, all the board partners had all the cards ready. They made all the packaging, obviously, for the 12 gig. And it looks like NVIDIA will reimburse all the board partners for the cost of the packaging. But that also doesn't, I mean, there's all the labor that goes into that as well, right? Because all of these cards have stickers on them that need to be removed.
Yeah.
And anything else, any other naming that's on the card that needs to be removed, and that's all labor costs, which isn't obviously being covered by NVIDIA. It's just like, we talked about EVGA and how they were kind of fed up with NVIDIA. This is one of those things. It's like you change your mind last minute. Right? Like this is a last minute thing. This is after you already announced the card, you're changing it. And it's not like it's not something simple like a BIOS update, right? Where it's, we have to go flash all the BIOSes, all the cards we have, right? That's still a pain in the ass, but it's not something like, okay, well, we're just completely canceling the card. You guys, all these AIBs, they have all this inventory of a card that they don't even know when it's going to come out now. They have to go ahead.
I was to say, yeah, they have all these cards, and if they're expecting to have like a 4080 12 gig, and a lot of these companies like P&Y, for example, or some of the other brands, they'll partner with a third-party builder, right? They'll say, okay, we've got a contract, and we're going to provide you with X thousand of our model of this 12 gig card.
Yeah.
And now NVIDIA's canceled it, and they're like, crap, what am I supposed to give to my, my system builder?
Yeah. There's a lot of questions. It's very.
But this is how you end up with those stickers on products. You'll like get your retail package or something, and there's like a different name sticker on it.
Yeah.
We've all seen those.
But it definitely brings credence to like what EVGA was like pissed off about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, none of these AIBs can be happy with it. Like this is not an ideal situation. But like I said, at least they're reimbursing some of the cost on it. So talk about NVIDIA also doing something that's, I would say, good, because I hated this since it was a thing. Latest drivers, they removed the light hash rate limiter on their cards. So if you guys aren't familiar, when mining, which is basically dead, when GPU mining was a pretty big thing about 2 years ago, all the miners were buying the RTX 30 series because compared to the 20 series, there's a massive increase in performance, and the mining performance was just insane. So all these miners, mining farms, they were buying all the cards, and gamers couldn't get the cards. So what NVIDIA did is they introduced a hash rate limiter, which would limit the card's cryptocurrency mining performance. I wasn't a fan just because I don't like a company limiting what I can do with the products that I purchased. That was just me. I get why they were doing it. So they put it in their driver from since then. And with the latest driver, especially because one, there's a flood of cards out there, like, and you can get a card anywhere. And two, that GPU mining is basically dead. They've just, latest driver, you can mine all you want. So not much change. What do you think, Ryan?
I was typing out a response in chat. No, I kind of was on the same page with you regarding like use your hardware how you see fit, and you aren't restricted by a company with how that's done. But I also, on that same argument, was kind of like, well, it sucks that like the cards are made primarily for gamers, right? And they weren't able to get them. So I kind of straddled the fence on that. I think it's fine. Yeah, we're past GPU mining, right? So there's no reason not to remove this. And who knows if there's some other coin that comes out or some other ability that can take advantage of similar computing and processing on the card to that can now utilize these cards in a better performance fashion, I guess.
Yeah. In the chat, we have Jim, our good friend Jim from Home Gadget Geeks. He says, I have a couple of 3060s in my Amazon cart at the moment. Buy now or hold.
My question is, do you have a couple in there because you're buying more than one, or you have a couple models you're choosing from?
Yeah, you don't.
I assume it's just, yeah. Do you need more than one? If not,
I would say buy the rest of your components first, because the prices are only going to go down.
Yeah, especially once we see the a 4060.
Yeah,
couple models, just one card. Yeah.
Yeah. What Jim, what models are you looking at? And then Michael in the chat says you can get a 6900 XT for under. Yeah, they were really, really low. We talked about it. There was a 6950 XT for 669, I think, or something crazy, like in the like below $700, which is insane for that card, for the performance you're getting out of that card. Gigabyte's good.
Gigabytes.
Yeah, I have a couple gigabyte 3060s. 3060 is a great card.
It is a good value card. I typically recommend. Well, I've always been a 70 fan for my purchases, but 60 is that great. Like, yeah, it's a level down, but it's still awesome for most people. It will do the gaming and compute that a lot of people need and that don't need a higher end card. So
yeah, and then he's looking at a
PNY.
PNY. I've never personally reviewed a PNY card. I don't even think I've
I had a
touched physically a PNY card in my life.
I think I have one in my boneyard.
Yeah, so I can't speak to the quality of the PNY. Gigabyte's always good. They do really good with cooling and things like that too. 3360, that's not a real card. I think he means a 3060. The Zotac good depending on which model that you're getting as well. It's so good to like have graphics cards readily available. You know what I mean?
Because a year ago or like 2 years ago, it's like whatever you can get and it doesn't break the bank, just buy it.
Yeah. So talking about graphics cards and more down the line from the higher end cards, an interesting photograph was taken at the Galaxy RTX 40 launch event. I'll show you the initial photo. So here's the initial photo showing off the brand new 4090, right? And then somebody on Reddit was like, you see this box down here? What is this box? This box says 4050. And here's the picture you can see. The box does indeed say 4050. It's just sitting there unannounced, right? NVIDIA hasn't announced a 4050 or 4060. It's just sitting there. It doesn't appear, at least from the image, doesn't appear to be Photoshop or anything like that. Again, just sitting there. And this does happen. I've been at CES and other events where like a company just like, I remember, especially when it happens with motherboards a lot, they'll just have like their motherboard sitting on the wall. It doesn't have a name placard under it, and it just says,
and it won't have the label even on the board sometimes. But you're like, I think I know what that is.
Yeah, and it's something that they can't like. This happens a lot. It's just interesting that it's just sitting there. So I don't know if this is confirmation of a 4050. We assume so. Yeah, I mean that's all we can really say. This is the only picture that was of this box from that event. It would be interesting to see the performance of something that far down the line. And there's been a lot of speculation that NVIDIA would really like, again, we talked about it last week with the 4090, like they push the envelope as far as performance goes. And then as you get down the line, it's just going to be like, 7% increase in performance or over the previous or something like that. You know what I mean? So we don't know what the performance will be down the line, but it is good to see. I mean, if they're going to, like I said, and if this box is here, which means the cards are hopefully be ready, we wouldn't expect a 4050 or even a 4060 probably till CES in January. I think they're going to hold the 4090, 4080 all the way through holiday season. And then in January, you'll see the lower end cards. That's my guess. I don't know if you agree with that, Ryan. You think that would be the kind of...
I hope not. I mean, I would love to see everything sooner than later, but who knows? But I hope that, we have this 4050 card if that picture is accurate and factual. And we stick away from the like GTX versus RTX cards, right? Like that's a mess too. You're like, well, do I get this RTX whatever or this GTX 16? No, stay on the 4000 series and just drop that number down. Like, keep it simple.
Yeah, I hated that. Again, for the consumer, I hate that. Like, I understand it, I get it, but if you're not an informed consumer, you're like, I don't understand. And then there's other features. Like, people think RTX is just ray tracing,
right?
But it's also the tensor cores and everything else that makes like things like NVIDIA broadcast work and all these things. And while you can use NVIDIA broadcast with older cards, it's not the same, and it just bogs down your system. So it's like, just make it all RTX. No, none of these, other cards that you're just putting out there because there's no stock of anything else. Like, you know what I mean? Old man in the chat talking about prices. He said Best Buy has an RTX 3060 Ti 8 gig for $400. That's $20 more than the regular 360.
Seems like a good deal.
Any graphics card seems like a good deal compared to what we were at not all that long ago. Talking about new graphics cards, CableMod has this. So, and I said it when the initial 30 series launched, the power connector, the 12 whatever you want to call it, the 12 VH PWR power connector. The way it came out of the card, it just wasn't great for it to come out of the card and look good in your system. It was just messy. And now that you have four
Extra
eight pins going into the single cable, like it just makes it look really, really messy. So CableMod has came up with a 90-degree angle power adapter, which looks super clean, super clean. You can see what it looks like here. Basically, just attaches to the side, and then it has the you connect another cable right to it, and as you can see, it just it plugs in straight, and then it makes the cabling go down, so you can easily route it down under without having to necessarily bend that cable down under. Super simple, super easy. It comes out soon. It comes
less
out
flex on the the connection on the card as well.
Yeah, that too.
Yep. No, I love this.
Yeah, they have it on their website. 10 days you'll be able to pre-order it, I guess, from CableMod. But this just makes sense. It just cleans that up. As you can see how clean this looks, right? It just go down, and then you would route this cable down under, and just make it look super simple, super nice. And it doesn't hang off the card all that much. It's a much better solution than the adapters. And like I said, just the connection, because again, the normal NVIDIA connection doesn't go down; it goes straight out. It's not ideal, I would say. So yeah, pretty cool.
Jim was asking 8 gig TI versus 12 gig non-TI for VR and gaming, and I'll say it kind of depends on resolution a bit. In the texture and graphic settings you want, and also the resolution, right? That extra 4 gigs of video memory is going to help out at a higher resolution with better textures. Honestly, I think you'll probably, if you're just running a 1080 screen and the VR headset, I think you'd be all right with the 8 gig TI.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Anything higher than that, it might be worth going to the 12 gig, but and either one you can overclock, so to get a little extra performance as well.
Yeah. Yeah, old man said he has the original 3080, the 10 gig, not the 12 gig. He's never had a problem. Yeah, so it is it really all depends when you're looking at that, especially again, resolution is a big deal when it comes into VRAM capacities. So it's just kind of like, again, you might want to, I don't know what 3070s are going for, but you might want to look at that as well. But 3060 would definitely get the job done too. Talking about CPU stuff, interesting story that we saw this week is that AMD apparently is cutting production already of the Ryzen 7 Ryzen 7000 series chips. These just came out, and they're citing that, and again, we are seeing, so I saw a bunch of stories this past week that the PC market is going to get a big correction. So the PC market exploded the past 2 years. One of the reasons, because everybody had to work from home, and everybody was like, I don't want this crappy laptop that my work is giving me. Or like a lot of people got like a per diem to go either build a PC or buy a laptop or whatever. And everybody was like, well, they're giving me this much, I'm going to build a PC. And we saw this explosion in the PC market over the past 2 years. Because again, people were working from home. People are like, oh, there's nothing to do, I'm going to build a gaming PC so I can play game, like all this stuff. So that's one of the big things, is that you have this massive correction that's going to come in the PC market, and you'll see expected revenues for a lot of companies drop a lot because people bought all their stuff the past 2 years, and now they just don't, they're not buying again. A lot of those people, again, are going back to work, so they're not going to be needing to necessarily upgrade that PC. Their time, is only going to be after work or on the weekends. They're not using it as much. And then you have, with the Ryzen 7000 series, if you're on Ryzen 5000, unless you're like a crazy enthusiast, there's really no reason to upgrade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ryzen 5000 series is it's a great ecosystem. And if you are going to upgrade, say you are even from Ryzen 3000 series, you're not only, you have to buy a new motherboard, you have to buy DDR5 memory as well, and that's expensive. So AMD is
the
kind of
motherboards, AM5 motherboards feel
yeah.
so much more expensive as well, right? There's just a premium to be on this platform right now.
Yeah. So with the down cycle in people upgrading or buying new PC parts, combined with AMD has a great ecosystem that it's, the life cycle of their products seems decently long, you know. So
Yeah.
apparently, according to this internal memo, that they're going to be cutting production down. Um, yeah, that's just kind of crazy because these literally just came
They
out.
just came out. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You don't want a ton of chips sitting on the shelves not being sold.
Right.
And then again, Intel chips are coming out, and we'll see how that performance is too. And I think, yeah, it's very interesting for sure, to see this story. But again, we'll see a lot of these stories in the next couple months, just because again, everybody's going back to work. Not back
I
to
mean,
work,
I
but
was
they're going back to the office per se.
yeah, kind of related to this. I was honestly looking at 5800 X3Ds like pricing. I'm like, well, that'll go in my system, right?
Yeah,
I can slap that in and get a decent performance boost for my 3800X. And
yeah.
then look at a GPU, right? I don't have to switch motherboard platforms. I can keep running my memory. Um, yeah, that the 5000 series is still a good option.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it sucks when you're a company, you have such a good platform that, the newest product, people are just going to wait and they're not going to really jump at it because their platform works great, you know? So yeah, it just looks like AMD's kind of stuck there. We'll see. They reported that they adjusted their Q3 2022 forecast, by $1 billion drop in revenue, which is a lot. And then you're going to see that from a lot of companies. So it will be interesting to see how all of that plays out. Also, this happens so much now. It's like, do they mean to do this? Is this an accident? When you go to a motherboard page and you see your CPU support list, right? Lists all the CPUs that are supported by that motherboard. Well, the Intel only announced 3 Raptor Lake 13th gen processors, but Gigabyte listed all of them.
Whoops.
Here's the support list of all. Well, these aren't all Raptor Lake. These are all of the processors. So this is 12th and 13th gen processors, but there's 22 Raptor Lake processors listed here. And we saved it because I think they changed the page when I probably got yelled at by Intel. But you can see all of the Raptor Lake processors, and their speeds and everything like that, and their wattages. So you can see, and there's a lot of processors. Again, Intel only announced 3. There's 22 on this list. If you want to see what's going to eventually be coming out from Intel, especially if you're going on the lower end side, a lot of those weren't announced.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's
That's funny.
a lot of different chips on there. So yeah, do you think this is like
Someone hit publish too soon, right?
or something? Yeah. To see, yeah, they just put them all in there or whatever. So the list is there. We have it on the article page if you want to see all 22.
They named the table wrong and it got published instead of the edit.
Yeah, we don't know. But they're, like I said, they are all there. And what else do we have? Oh, you're up, Ryan.
I think I'm up now, right? Let me.
Yeah, you got to share your screen here. We got some AiOs.
I'm still not used to it. I swear the button used to say share, and now it says present.
The button did use this. They've changed a lot with this software that we use to live stream. They've changed a lot over the past couple months.
Pretty recently, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we have Team Group launching their T4 Siren Duo 360, ARGB CPU and SSD AIO liquid cooler,
And it's the first ever
for them or just in general?
I believe. I mean, what is the
I think
press
so.
release says?
Yeah, world's
ever,
first AIO liquid cooling solution for CPU and
because we've seen
SSD.
the memory ones. Remember, Thermaltake had the one
Yes,
that cooled the
Thermaltake had them
memory.
at CES. They've had that for a while now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what we're looking at is a 360 millimeter AIO. Oops, there we go. ARGB, right? So we've got ARGB on the fans, as well as the pump housing and the SSD cooler. Now, looking at this thing, it's so tall. Like, I just, it sticks out so far, and you can kind of see it in this image here. It really sticks out over your GPU quite a bit. I think it looks cool. I don't think that most SSDs are going to require this heavy of cooling, right? I know you're going to say Gen 5 does.
Well, here, let me.
But,
While you talk, I'll go get something. I'll show you.
all right. So, like, and we mentioned this most of the time in our motherboard reviews and SSD reviews, right? A lot of times you can get the drive with or without a heatsink, and the heatsink that the manufacturer provides is typically plenty to keep the drive cool enough, right? You want your NAND chips on there to run a little warmer, but you want your controller to stay a little cooler, so you don't have any throttling there.
So let me
go ahead.
let me interject, and I'll make myself
Sure.
So
Let's see.
the ASRock X670E Taichi, we just reviewed it. It supports Gen 5, and they have a small little heatsink on the top one, which is the Gen 5. But they also include this big ass thing, which is huge. This is huge. It's actively cooled. I think, and again, I haven't seen any like data. I haven't researched, so that you take this with like a grain of salt. As far as like, I don't really know, but I think the first gen of the Gen 5
they're gonna run hot, huh?
They're gonna run. I mean, why would a manufacturer include this?
Include that.
You know,
no, that's pretty damning. So maybe T-Force knows that, and they're just trying to be the first one out there to offer a product like this.
I do say this does look cool.
It looks neat. I wish it wasn't quite as tall. Like I said, this sticks out quite a bit. And I think Michael said, as long as it doesn't interfere with the GPU, I don't think it will. Obviously, they're going to spend their time to make sure that they are compatible.
But like
with
that
clearances
top,
and everything.
so that top section of your build right there, it's all going to be in sync, which I love. If you're an RGB person, there is a lot of cabling in there, right? Like from
there's a decent amount of tubing, right? Because you got to go between multiple components.
But I think, again, if these drives, if you're an early adopter, you're and I think, I mean, that looks a lot better than this. And again, this has an active cooling, a small active cooling fan, which I don't know how loud it is, but it can't be super quiet. So
okay. So also, what do you think this costs? You've probably seen it, so
I've seen it, so I know. It's expensive.
It is $400. That's, I mean,
so this
to get a T-Force 360 AIO, like cut out the SSD cooler and the tubing. This is probably $180 cooler, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I was looking at a Lee 360 with ARGB fans was $179. So 180.
So, somewhere in that range, right? It's an Asetek design, most likely, right? It's just it looks exactly like the current designs. So $400 seems a bit much to me, without some sort of LCD or something on the pump housing itself. Anyhow, we'll see. Speaking of LCDs on pump housings, we have the EVGA CLX series AIOs, and guess what? They've got an LCD on the pump housing.
I like this one.
It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah,
it's sleek. I've never reviewed or taken a look at any EVGA cooling products before. Again, it's just a different design. It's got a 480 by 480 LCD screen, so we can do similar things to NZXT, Corsair, everybody who's put the LCD on the pump housing. So obviously, fully customizable as to what you want to put on there. I like the look of these fans. They're kind of getting back away from some of the more advanced RGB lighting and just kind of the ring. I like their implementation with the kind of crystal clear coloring here and design all around. To me, this looks like a little bit of a small amount of thermal paste here. I was hoping this would be a little bigger. This could just be a render. I don't think it's a render. I think that's an actual product image. But anyhow, they offer it in multiple sizes. Looks like a 360 and a 280 and a 240. So multiple size options depending on your case and build size.
I like that one.
Yeah, it looks good. I like this look, the kind of smoked clear plastic look over the screen, and just the design they've got there. So pretty cool.
Yeah. In the chat, Old Man says, do those M.2 drives reach higher temps during read and writes? I was wondering if you are mostly reading off the disk. Will they reach this? No, it's mostly writes. Writing to the drive is so much more intensive. It's writing will heat up the drive a lot. If you're mostly reading off the drive, you wouldn't have to worry. Again, I don't know the temperatures of the new Gen 5 drives that are going to be coming out, so we'll see how that is. Obviously, they're going to keep them under control in some respects, just like we saw with early Gen 4 stuff. I mean, we saw thermal throttling, right? Especially with Samsung drives early on. And then, as the generations of these drives came out, they got that stuff under control with firmware updates and newer controllers that were much better, better designed. So again, I think we'll see the same thing with Gen 5. You're going to see first gen come. Everybody's going to want that super fast drive come out as fast as they can. Those are going to run pretty hot, likely thermally throttle, I'm guessing. And then as we get to like the Gen 2 of Gen 5, you'll see faster speeds and you'll see not as much thermal throttling. That's my guess. Sure. Yeah. But yeah, no, I like the EVGA one. It looks really nice.
Cool. And then last up, Thermaltake has their ToughFAN 12 and 14 RGB high static pressure fans. So this is going to be somewhere where you want to use on a radiator. Or where you just need to move air through maybe a fan grill that's going to give you a little more resistance than just an open standard mesh or fan grill. So they've got ARGB around the frame, right? There's no lighting in the fan itself. And we've got some really nice ball bearings in the fan motor there to help, make that fan more efficient and fan blade design to give that more static pressure for going through radiators and things like that. So definitely a fan that you want to consider for radiator use. They'll definitely still work as like a normal case fan. It's just they're designed to push air with more force.
I really like how these look.
I don't know.
So who was it? Fantex? Was it Fantex that had they were like grills that you could put on existing fans that had the RGB.
Their Halo.
But like I like this because if you look at the fans from the side, you get that side.
The side they do look cool.
Yeah, I do like that.
That does look neat. There's some design features that remind me of another fan company that I'm just not going to bring up. As far as the blades and the hub.
Oh yeah.
They usually make uglier fans. I'll just leave it at that. They're interesting. I just the RGB design on the outside, I'm just not a big fan of. But these would be great if you're in that Thermaltake environment, right? They make a lot of water cooling components, and if you want to keep everything in the same ecosphere, just like kind of we talked about with Razer earlier on. You want one place to go to customize your setup, all the lighting and everything, right? They've got their power supply and their fans and all their accessories that they make.
Everything will go together. And they're going to be in 120 and 140.
Correct. Yeah, the 12 and 14 versions correspond to 120 and 14 or 140 millimeter designs. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, they look more industrial.
Yeah, like that middle hub where they leave the bearing showing kind of just looks more industrial. The blade design is like they have a sharp look to them.
Yeah, like this, this. I don't know if this is metal or plastic, but this
I'm
piece,
guessing it's
it just
plastic.
yeah, it just looks a little more I don't know. I like that's it. I'm an RGB person, so I'm a little biased, but I think they look nice. So yeah, so that is it for news this week. I feel like we're in a little bit of I mean, we do have Intel stuff coming out, but we're in like a little we had NVIDIA, we had Intel with ARC stuff. We're kind of in that little bit of a lull before we get into holiday season, and we've seen that with Amazon. We talk about it, Amazon sponsor of this episode. You know, I've been like looking. There's like hardly anything on sale right now. Like typically we see like a good, some good products. We saw graphics cards there for a while, which were on sale. Like there's not a whole lot of stuff on sale right now. I think
Interesting.
I believe Michael was talking about it earlier. Black Friday coming up, Cyber Monday coming up. That whole weekend is a whole thing on Amazon too. Yeah, we're in a little bit of a lull when it comes to stuff. But what we have coming up next week as far as reviews, I will be posting my review of the AMD Ryzen 9 7900X. This is the one that I bought. And I've been testing it. I've been done testing it. I've been testing Ryzen 5000 series processors all this week to compare. I wanted to get the review done for today, but that just wasn't happening. I still have to test Intel processors, go through all the benchmarks, and do all that stuff. But I'll be excited to talk to you guys about this next week. Also, a case that was just when it came out, I was like, I want this thing. And
I know you talked about it so much, I thought you had already reviewed it and looked at it.
No, I haven't. So I'm taking a look at the Height Y60. This is like I call it their fish tank sort of case. But even just looking at it, because I haven't built in it yet. I'll be doing that over the weekend. It's just very well thought out. And I think Height has been doing that with their products. Everything we saw it with their small form factor case as well. Everything is very thought out in this case, and I really like that. I do have the red version, which is it looks really, really nice with this kind of 3-panel design on the front. It comes with the included riser, and all the risers match the color that you get because it's available in white and black as well. So it's like a black version and then the white version. So really excited to take a look at this next week. We'll have that review for you guys as well. And then both Ryan and I will be working on videos too. So we have more video content coming out, just so much stuff. Holiday season, we take a little break in the summer, and now we're spinning it back up for the holiday season coming into CES in January. So I'm pretty excited for stuff. And I talked to Ryan about this. I say it every week. We've been talking about me upgrading my main PC, but I'm very close to. I have everything in, not everything, but I have mostly everything in my Amazon carts. Go ahead.
It's gonna be similar to your build in at least the color scheme, right? Like I don't want to give away too much because that's your thing,
we can talk about it. I was thinking about using the Height case, right? But I'm like, and I was just the past week I've just been like looking at build videos on YouTube, and I'm like, the Leah 011 just looks so nice. And it's you don't like it?
No, it's great. Everybody
and
has
literally
it. Everybody has it.
Everybody has done a build in the 011, right? And I'm like, I have all this hardware here that I don't have to pay for, but I just saw these and I'm like, I'm just gonna have to do the 011 because it just looks so good. And I'm going for the mini.
Case. I'm going for the
mini.
I love it.
The white version of the mini. Let me bring up so this is what I'm looking at. I'm doing that's not the white version. Hold on. 011 dynamic snow mini. I think it's this one. That's like literally all white.
All white. Yep.
Yeah. Why the price go up? It was literally $119.
Dope.
Oh wait, I know. I don't know. I have one in my cart on Amazon, so we'll see. But literally all white. Supports X or EATX, which is what's the system that I'm gonna be putting in here. And then I'm like, well, I have to get all of their uni fans, right? So all of their so I'm gonna get their AIO with a Unifans, which is $180 that I'm gonna buy, and then 2 packs of 6, because you'll need 3 in the bottom, and then 1 here, and then 2 here, which would be 6. So each 3 pack is $79.99. So I'm like $500 into this thing. Just the case and the fans and the AIO. Luckily, I have the CPU, graphics card. I do have memory that would work, but I'm looking to get all white memory to match everything. And I need to get a power supply because I don't have. So this case only supports SFX, and SFXL. So then they're like super expensive, like $200.
They are. Yeah.
For one that would support everything.
Yeah.
And then I'm upgrading my desk. There's all these things going on. And I'm just like blowing money on all this stuff. But when I get it all set up, it's like one of those things, like I'm sure like your setup, and we've seen your setup that you've shown a bunch of times. Like once you get it to where you want it, you're like,
oh, it's great.
It feels amazing. Right. And I've wanted to change, like I have a nice desk, but I have another one coming. Bamboo top.
But you use it all the time, right? Like you use it to work for your productivity, right? And you use it as a background for a lot of your shots. So I mean, it makes sense to keep it current, to kind of change things up every now and then. So
yeah. And my PC that I'm using, that we're streaming on right now, it works, but it's like thrown together because it's slowly dying. And we've talked about this so many times. We've actually had issues on the podcast where like I'm streaming and like my camera will cut out or like something will cut out because I don't know what's wrong with this motherboard, but the USB like flickers on and off just like at random times. And it's very annoying. And it's annoying for all the RGB because all the RGB resets when you do that. And it's just not great. Also, this case is not good for temperatures. Like I have to open the door when I'm playing games. Like it's just so
it's not amazing.
Yeah. So this would solve a lot of those problems. I know this case isn't necessarily amazing either, but you have a lot, you have the air coming up from the bottom, coming out the top. Like I'm not ideal in this situation. So in this case just looks so good. Like seeing builds in this thing sitting and it's sitting on the desk. It just looks so good to me. So this is a possibility for the build, but it's going to happen in the next, because I'm going to be doing a video on the new desk and I want to launch that video with the new build.
Oh.
So it's going to be happening here very soon. I'm either going to spend a lot of money or, and with a new desk, like I'm getting some new streaming gear. Like there's just so much stuff. It's just like,
new room.
Yeah. It's going to be, and then this desk is going to be moved over there. And because that's just a crappy IKEA desk and it's going to be a whole thing in itself. I have all this stuff planned. It's just going to take a while for it to all come together, but I'm really excited about it. It's always exciting. Just like, upgrading your setup.
Yeah.
I'm a setup guy. I like having a nice, clean setup.
That was another reason why I was like, oh, maybe I'll just go with the 5800X3D because I've got this hard tubing build, right? And I can at least just take the CPU block and the lines to it off and swap it out. I don't have to tear everything out to do that. So yeah, we'll see.
And I don't know if a lot of people, the 5800 X3D actually beats the newer Ryzen processors in gaming. So, and you do a lot. We do a decent amount of gaming. So, but yeah, anything else you do? Anything else tech related this week before we jump into, we're going to be gaming after this. So
I don't think so. No. Nah. Not really.
Okay. I got a new ring light.
Yep.
Which
you messed with the color on your camera.
Yeah, the camera, if you guys
looks great.
Compared to last week, which I think, especially because I watched the podcast, I rewatched part of the podcast on my TV, and specifically on my TV, I looked completely wild. Like I looked horrible. So I spent like 2 hours today dialing in my settings on the camera. I think I look better. I think I look true to life.
It also looks like you have better, like the quality is better too.
Yeah, I changed my frame rates. There's a lot of stuff changed.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what it is.
when you properly expose your image, because I just had this camera set on auto. When you properly expose your image, you tend to look better. So yeah, I think I did all that. But I'm not going to be using this ring light. This is a big one. I have another one coming for the, like I said, new streaming gear. Beyond that, there's a new, I don't know if I talked about this, been out for a couple weeks. There's a new Prime flavor. I'm a big fan of Prime. It's like the drink started by Logan Paul and KSI, and it's actually really good.
I
It's
thought
like,
they were like enemies.
yeah, they were, and then they started this drink company. So that's why I don't know. But anyways, this stuff's actually really good. It's called MetaMoon. Very, very good. So if you're, and it's not an energy drink. It's like a Gatorade. It's, you know what I mean?
Okay.
There's not yeah, I think is there sugar in this? 2 grams of sugar. Yeah.
No artificial sweeteners.
I don't,
because I can't get on board with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff in. I'm not going to read all this, but
yeah.
Anyways, there's a new flavor. That's basically it. We're gonna get off here like we always do, and we're gonna jump over to Twitch. Ryan will be streaming. He'll be controlling that stream. We're gonna be playing Apex Legends. If you guys want to follow along and just keep on hanging out with us, twitch.tv/. I was like, is that the right one? Yeah, twitch.tv/ThinkComputers. Head on over there. We'll be gaming for at least a couple more hours. I'm pumped because we didn't game last week. So, real quick, old man in the chat, do you have the games? We always do this. We talk about the free games on Epic.
He did.
He also said he got a Pixel 6a from Google. If you have their phone service, the Google Fi, you get a deal for $10 a month for 24 months after he traded my or some, I don't know what that is. It was about 140.
Probably 4A.
What Google phone are you on?
I'm not. I was gonna go to the Pixel 7 because I was on the 4XL and I didn't want to do the 6. I was gonna wait for the 7, but I just got fed up, so I actually went with the OnePlus 10 Pro 5G or OnePlus 10 5G Pro, whichever it is.
Okay. How big is that?
That's big.
Okay, because I always I always get like for the iPhones, which I have, I don't get like the bigger version. Like I get the normal size, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was on 5 for a while, and I just found that like calls wouldn't connect sometimes when Verizon would.
Interesting.
So I loved that it was much more affordable and I could do hotspot for free. I loved that, but the call issues I was having, and then just the coverage area wasn't great. As good as Verizon is in our area. So
I finally used my hotspot on my. I've never used. Well, first initially because I have AT&T, like I didn't get a hotspot, and then, and I don't know if this is true. I got like 3 gigs, and I was like at a coffee shop like a couple months ago, and their like Wi-Fi was like horrendous, and I like put it on. I was like I was so mad because I went there to work, and like I couldn't do anything. Like that's how bad the Wi-Fi was, and I turned on my hotspot and I got my work done. But yeah, it's the first time I ever used it like on my phone. I know because I have AT&T, they stuff's all locked down. Verizon and T-Mobile, like you could have a hotspot, but it was kind of cool. Just like now I'm like, I could work from anywhere because I just turn on the hotspot, open the laptop and go. So that was pretty cool. Old man says Evoland Legendary Edition and Fallout 3 Game of the Year Edition is free on Epic tomorrow at 10 a.m. You ever play the Fallout games?
Nope. Well, I play a like side-scrolling survival strategy game, Fallout Shelter. It's not a normal Fallout game by any means.
All right, guys. Well, we are going to end things here. I'd love to keep on hanging out with you. So if you want to, again, twitch.tv/ThinkComputers, and we will see everybody next week.